Hello, everyone. Put this here. Mm. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's streaming. I really appreciate that you are here sharing with me this broadcasting, this streaming. So, I'm gonna show you today, as I've been showing on my social media, how to create a school ring. So, I'm gonna use unconventional uh, an unconventional way of doing this, or I hope I'm going to show you something new, or it's going to be, I think, a basic way to do it, but very useful. So I know I maybe some of you are already making school rings or did some in the past, and I'm going to show you my way of doing it, or a useful way of doing it using two default objects or tools that ZBrush already has installed. So as I shown on the presentation, I'm going to use. I'm going to show you the image. So I'm going to use this guy. This guy. This is a well-known guy inside of ZBrush. It comes with ZBrush from long time ago. So it's the friend Nickz. This it's installed by default with ZBrush, and I'm going to use also a cylinder. I'm not going to use any other subtool or any other external uh, help or mesh. So I only am going to use this one thing that this tool already has inside, and a cylinder. And we're gonna get at the end of the stream, maybe not today, let's see how many times I'm going to be here sculpting. Not sure if I'm gonna cover the whole process, or maybe in the next stream, maybe next week, I'm gonna try to finish it completely, but I'm gonna try to go as more far as possible for today, or at least try to explain you the basics about create the school rings inside of ZBrush. Now let's close this. Let's close this. Hi Manuel, welcome to the streaming. Hi Luca. So let's go. Let's go. So so everything is working fine. You can put all your comments or your questions during the streaming. So I'm gonna try to read them as much as I can. So I'm gonna try to answer all of the comments. So and try to give you my opinion or my advice or try my answer about what you are asking. And also you can leave your comments on the video below after the streaming, and I can ask all of the questions that you can have at the end of the stream, or maybe in the future where when you will be able to see the streaming on future days. So you can leave your comments on the video. I used to answer all the comments, so go there and leave your questions or your comments. So I really appreciate your support. So you like the video, or you are looking for new things in the future for future streamings to talk about something specific. So you can leave your comments on the videos. Okay, so let's go. Let's go. So here we have a cylinder, the default cylinder 3D that ZBrush already have. And I'm gonna convert it into polymesh. And let's create the ring size first, the finger size of the ring. So as a standard size that I use when I create rings for men rings, so I used to give 19 millimeters. I need to open my Epic pen first to start drawing, because I like to draw at the same time I'm talking or trying to explain anything. So as I said, I used to give this ring size 19 millimeters diameter. finger size. So a first step to take when you start thinking about to start creating a ring design, doesn't matter if it's a school ring or whatever, you can start from a cylinder. I probably some of you already know that we have inside of ZBrush. Well, it is not official. It is not an official plugin. It is an external plugin which is called Ring Utility, where you can set up ring sizes. You can select the US size, ISO size, or millimeters. This is a way that you can just set the size in millimeter here. The 19 millimeter, just pressing key on this button, you can get the right measurement of the ring size. But to try to follow as a more standard way of working or more default way of working that we can find inside of ZBrush, let's start from a default cylinder. So we are not going to use this plugin. So I'm gonna open my left tray here. And this plugin, you'll be able to find this by default inside of ZBrush, the Scale Master. So clicking on the Set the Scene Scale, where we are gonna set up the units, the scene units. So let's select millimeters and let's say 19 millimeters. 19. So keeping this little R, this button active, will constrain the other two axes. So just changing one, you will get this, the others. So, but keep an eye here to turn this off, because at this moment it is not important because we only have one subtool. But if we have more than one subtool, we can change all of the subtool according to the selected subtool. In some cases it's going to be useful, but in this case I try to keep this non-active and keep it activated if I'm looking for that, to change one subtool according to the all of the subtools according to one subtool. Hola Jorge, hola Claudio, hi Darren, welcome. So let's click the 19 millimeter resize subtool. Now we're now able to start with a 19 millimeter diameter cylinder. This is going to be our mandrel. So I'm gonna extrude it a little bit to keep it longer, to make it longer. And now we already have this. So let's renaming. This is gonna 19 millimeter. 19 millimeter. That's it. And now let's close this. And now, where do we find the friend Nick? So we go to the lightbox, to the tool folder, and here to the right, here we will find the new Nick human male average. This is the base mesh, very useful when you are making characters or whatever. So double clicking here. So this is what we get. Click on frame to frame it. And the useful thing about this guy is that there is a skull inside of the head. So we are going to use this skull as a base mesh to start building or start making our skull ring. Hola Arturo. Hi Anthony. Hi Patty. Welcome to you for being here, watching me. So I'm going to use this skull. So, and this is a very useful skull because if I turn on the polyframe, you can see it comes with polygroups, very useful. And in terms of anatomy, anatomical accuracy, or just a form-based mesh is going to be very useful for all the skulls that you need to create inside of ZBrush. So let's select this. Let's come back to our 19 millimeters and append the skull. Let's append. Let's turn on, or let's select this is cool. Let's turn on the transparency. As you can see, it's a very tiny. That's cool. Compare to the cylinder, to the 19 millimeter cylinder. Okay. So let's make it bigger. Let's put it in the middle, center, and let's push it to the right. One thing that I like to set when I'm making rings is turn off the symmetry, and for me it's very important to keep the symmetry. The main symmetry axis is going to be the x-axis, and in this case it's going to be left and right, left eye, right eye. This is if for any reason we got it wrong, not wrong, but another position like this, we turn on and we find that we have the axis here. In my opinion, it's much better instead of going here and change the axis. I prefer to rotate it, send it to the middle, and now I can start in this view, left and right. This is going to be my main view, so let's push it a little bit to the right, to the left. Let's make it smaller, like this. And now I'm gonna start making the ring. So we are gonna need another subtool, a third subtool, which I can make it just duplicating the base, the mandrel or the ring size. This is, I'm gonna duplicate it. I'm gonna put this at the end of the list because I'm gonna create booleans with this. This is going to be a subtractive mesh. I'm gonna turn off my live boolean by the moment, and I'm gonna grab this and let's make it a little bit bigger. Turn on the transparency, extrude it, something like this, keep it in the middle. It's gonna be very important. In the middle, I mean in the middle of the axis. So this is going to be the bend of the ring. This is going to be the cranius, the skull. Maybe let's push it out a little bit, like this. And this is going to be the mandrel, the ring size. If we turn on my live boolean, we're going to start watching or start getting something similar of what we are looking for. So let's turn on. One important thing, I'm gonna save this as step 1 of the process. Maybe gonna let's call it width 1. Oh, I forgot to show you the final piece, the one that I already did to start creating the renders on the advertising about the streaming. So this one, where it is here. This we're gonna finally get this. So we are gonna learn. I'm gonna show you how to make everything from this point. We are currently now from here to here to here. So we're gonna merge the cylinder and the cranius. We're gonna start sculpting, making the details. I'm gonna show you how to create this kind of hand curving effect inside of ZBrush without any external brushes. There are many very cool brushes out there for apply some kind of play finishing on the surface, but I'm gonna use some of the default brushes that we have inside of ZBrush and without any kind of alpha to create to achieve this kind of finishing that looks like it's something like a damaged metal, or looks like it has been carved by hand or leaving marks on the surface. This is a finishing that I like, this kind of raw finishing, not completely perfect, not completely shiny. So I'm gonna show you how to create this. So let's come back to the to this one. This is the no, that's not this one. The school is looking to us. Hey guys. So let's come back here, and one another setting that I normally use when I start creating ring designs is going to the floor. By default, you can see the y-axis is active by default. Now the floor is very small. That's the reason why it's here at the bottom of one of the cylinders. But I also turn on the other axis, X and C. So an extra setting that I need to create this. I'm gonna open this again. Let's go. Turn off the sound of my cell phone. Like this. Right. So let's go to draw. Elevation. Instead of -1, let's click to 0. Enter, and let's make it bigger. Grid size. Bigger. This is one thing that I normally use when I make ring designs, because the reason why, it's the way that I have to know. I'm gonna put this. So when you are creating a ring using this view, this is going to be very important. So we have the top half, the bottom half. Of course, left and right, but in this case, it's not so important than this ones, left and right. And this is the when you are creating a ring, this is one of the critical points. This is one of the critical points, and this is another critical point. This point is not so critical because this point is more related depending on the design that you are creating. You can create that bigger or smaller rings, thicker or thinner rings, depending on the design that you are doing. Depending, for example, on a school ring, at this moment, the average distance from this point to this point, maybe it's up to you, or maybe it's up to the client, or maybe it's up to the wearability, how too comfortable the ring is when you got it on your hand. But you have more room for decision. So depending on this whole thing, I'm gonna measure one of the rings that I have here. I have this ring. This is one of my designs. I'm gonna, just for taking some references, I'm gonna measure this part from the base of the finger till the highest point of the ring. In this case, for this ring, this is around. Here we have around. This is this one measure. Well, this is more or less maybe in this point around 12 millimeter. Around 12 millimeter. Let me see it. Let me check it twice. Yeah, about 12 and a half millimeters. So we see that here we have 12 and a half millimeter, or maybe 13 millimeters, around, more or less. But this part is very important, and this part is very important, and also this part is very important, because when you are wearing a ring, the sides are very important, because it's, to make it comfortable, so to wear, is because the sides which are touching the nearest finger, so it's good to avoid to make this part too thick, for example. So don't go too far away from the surface, and try to keep it as thin as possible. As thin as possible, yeah, it's a very open concept, but maybe we can say mine has 2 millimeters. This distance I'm getting 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters here, maybe 2 millimeters here, and on the base we have a little bit more, it's thicker, at the bottom, it's around 4 millimeter, maybe three and a half, maybe 1 millimeter more, 3 millimeter here, and that means that it's thicker at the bottom of the band. That's the reason why I used to have the axis active, and they are set in the middle of the workspace, so they're intersecting in the 0, 0, 0 coordinates. So with this method, I know that if I start making the school, for example, from this point and above, maybe there isn't any problem. So, but if we start making thicker here, maybe we start getting problems with the ring design in terms of how comfortable the ring is when it is on your hand. So that's the reason why I use this. So try to avoid to don't go further from this point. Maybe from this point, we should be around less than 3 millimeter, and from here and above we can go higher, 3 millimeters. And at the bottom of the ring, from this point to the surface of the ring, depending on this is going to be a decision depending on the kind of material that you are gonna cast the ring. It's gonna be cast in gold or in silver, the same like here. So as thinner you make it, as lighter it will be. So depending on if it's good, you are gonna use gold or silver, you can go around 2 millimeter instead of 3 will be better for the weight. So it's try to find a good balance between the wearability and the weight, and of course the final price. So but here at the bottom I try to keep it around 2.5 millimeter, trying always the same rule, around less than 3 millimeter, more or less. So let's go then, let's erase this. So and how thick is now, I'm gonna move, I'm gonna turn off by the gumball. I'm gonna use the transpose line to start getting measurements. So I'm gonna zoom in here. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna turn off my symmetry. I'm gonna zoom in more from this point to this point. Maybe this is going to be 19 millimeters. Ready? Really? So plug in. I missed the measurements. I'm gonna just turn all. This is 19 millimeters again. No, 19 by 19. Yeah, I'm gonna keep now the all active because I'm gonna change the size to the other subtools. So resize subtool. Now, so now we are. Here we have around 1.3 millimeters. You are going to be able to take the read it here. I think that you already know it, but here we are going to read the measurement. So we are 1.3 millimeters is too thin. Maybe we can try to reach at least 3 millimeters, more or less, to try enough material to start sculpting the surface, because during the sculpting process we are going to lose half of a millimeter or maybe more, 0.6, 0.7 millimeter, depending on the kind of surface detail we need to make. But so for the first decision, let's try to make it thicker, because we know that we are gonna modify it. We're gonna make it thinner during the process. So let's make it bigger. This is the band. I'm gonna keep this below like this. And it should be here in the middle. Let's make it thicker. Let's take the measurements again. 2.1 millimeter. Hang on, this is 19 millimeter, right? Yes. Let's make it a little bit bigger. In the middle, like this. Like this. And let's take this measurement from the base, from the base of the finger till the highest point. Now we are almost 9 millimeters. Maybe it's too small. Maybe we should push out a little bit. 19. We said before that we have here. This is around yeah, around 10. Maybe we can reach 12 mil. Yeah. Let's push it out a little bit more. So this is going to be almost 11. Maybe it should be fine if we stay here. Let's push it back, push it down a little bit more like this. Okay, this is going to be our more or less our final composition. Maybe now we need to decide the rotation, so it's not the same that we are making a skull ring like this or like this. This is just a matter of your taste, or depending, because when I am wearing a ring, so in below here in this gap, this underneath or below the jaw, we have an empty space here, and maybe we need to be careful about to don't leave this point too floating in the air, so try to make it closer to the finger. So let's try to, anyway, this is we can start changing our decision during the process. This is not a final decision that we are taking now. Hi Memo, obrigado. So maybe let's push it back, push it down again. So maybe this is a good composition. If we turn off our booleans, we are gonna be able to start seeing what it looks like. But it's still, it looks weird, so it still needs a lot of work. But maybe one thing that I'm gonna make is, let's grab the band, let's apply some polishing to make it more rounder, like this. Not so much. I'm gonna turn this. Yeah, maybe like this. I'm gonna use one of the features that you can find inside of the gizmo or the gumbo. I don't know how do you call it. This is the taper. I'm gonna set this on to 0, and I'm gonna make it wider at this point and make it narrower at this point, but not on this axis. So I need to set this to 0. You can see you can affect this axis, or you can avoid to affect the axis depending on the value of this cone. So let's put it here. So now like this. Maybe let's make this part a little bit thinner as well. And now what I can see is that let's accept. Let's select the cranius again. Let's push it down. Push it down. Maybe like this. Now looks good. Let's save it. Luca is asking, do you always use ZBrush only for sculpting and modeling? Is that enough? And are ZBrush measurement precise? Yes, I do. I only use ZBrush for everything. The only external software that I was using it, and I'm gonna use it on this streaming about the school ring, is Mesh Mixer. it's a free software which I use it for make the designs hollow inside because in my opinion it's more precise than ZBrush. I have more control on the wall thicknesses, but the rest I everything I do it inside of ZBrush. And if the measurements are precise enough, in my opinion, yes, I haven't got any issues with the measurement inside of ZBrush. I have control for everything inside of ZBrush, almost for stone setting to start making pavés and things like this. I know that the way of working is completely different to any of other CAD softwares, and CAD software that has been designed for create yearly, where you can find uh, special tools or special workflows applied to yearly design. So this is one thing that you are not going to find it inside of ZBrush. So inside of ZBrush, you need to find your way of do the things. This is one thing. This is one thing that I like it. I prefer to work in a free space in a place where I can use my own way to do the things instead of clicking over and over the same buttons. And yes, so I have control. I have under control the measurement. When my clients are requesting ring sizes or stone setting sizes or prong sizes, or I don't know, maybe gaps for enameling or things like this, I make everything inside of ZBrush. I have under control all the measurements inside of ZBrush. Thanks to you for making the question. And Eder da Silva is asking what software to follow. Maybe I'm guessing that you are meaning to follow. I am using Mesh Mixer. Mesh Mixer. Autodesk Mesh Mixer. It is a free software where you can, for example, let's import the bunny. This is the. I'm not quite familiar with the software because I'm only used to import the model, make it hollow, send it back to ZBrush, and follow working. So maybe here in Edit we can make it solid. There's one button here, and inside of Edit, oh, I'm sorry, I need to validate it. I think make it solid and Asset first. Now we can make it hollow. And now here you have under control the offset distance, the wall thickness, the solid accuracy of the internal mesh, the mesh density of the internal mesh as well. And when you have the offset mesh inside, I send it back to ZBrush, and then I start making booleans between the external shell and the internal shell. That's the idea. But I'm gonna use this, apply it to the skull ring. So we're gonna make it hollow at the end of the stream. Not today, maybe on the next stream. I don't want to say this. You are welcome. So now we are here. So now at this point we have been taking decision about the composition, about distances, about how thick the band is. It looks a little bit thicker, in my opinion. I don't know why it looks so thick. Maybe I should make it a little bit smaller, not so thick. And in terms of how high it is going to be, and here we see the finger, let's extrude this a little bit more so we can figure out how is the ring when we got it on our finger. Maybe it's gonna lay well on the surface. So maybe it should be a little bit more like this, because at this point I start watching, or I start noticing things like this. It's just so here, this is the ring, this is the part, and this kind of angle, it's good. Maybe to, when you are talking about design, to start creating too many parallel lines, everything on the design works as parallel levels, looks very boring. So in my opinion, maybe we can say it's a very principle or idea on design, or when you are sculpting a character, or you are posting a character, or when you are designing a jewelry piece, try to avoid to don't make it too parallel. Or that's I don't know if I am explaining very well. I try to do my best with my English, but this is a good example. Instead of let's say, instead of keep this to make everything completely parallels in different levels, so I prefer to work like this. Oops, stay there like this. Looks much better, I think. Your designs are going to look more interesting, I think. This like this. I'm still not happy with the composition. Maybe we can say here. Maybe when you are creating a school ring, there is a rule where you can say here on some examples that I took from the internet. You can see here, and you can see here you have the band. I'm not able to draw it here, so okay, I'm gonna try to replicate. What you have here, this is the skull. What you have here, and this is the band, the skull. This is going to be the nose. This is something like this here. You have here something like this. So the bands normally ends here at the bottom of the cheek here in this curve, and now this goes to the teeth, and the bottom jaw starts here. Yeah, something more like this. So you can say that this this is a fast drawing school ring. Looks okay, but I think that it's good enough for the explanation, I think. And you can see here, this is the one control point. You get here, we get it here, and this is the bottom of the ring. You can see it's aligned to this. Good. And on them here, it will go more something like this, and this is going to be something like this. More or less, you will find this concept on all of the rings. You can see here we have another one. This one, you can see it's almost the same. Almost the same. So let's keep it this, let's keep it here, and now, whoops. Yeah, Jorge is saying will be great if it will be in Spanish. Yeah, maybe in the future, maybe I will make some streamings in Spanish. Yeah, because maybe in English I reach more people. That's the reason why I make it in English. Okay, so let's go to the school. Now it's time to start splitting things. I still don't like it how it looks like. Let's see, something more like this. This is too parallel to the surface. Let's push it back. Yeah, start looking good. Yeah, more or less like this. Let's push it up. Okay, let's move on, because if not, we're gonna stay here making changes and changes. So it's time to start splitting things. So a very good thing about this school that we found inside of the Nick head. So we already have polygroups. So I'm gonna Control Shift this. I'm gonna split hidden this. So I'm gonna keep the cranius as a one subtool. I'm gonna Control Shift click. I'm gonna split hidden to keep the jaw as another subtool. So now we're gonna start working on the cranius. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna turn the solo mode, so I'm gonna subdivide to start getting a smoothing surface. Subdivide, divide, and divide like this. And then one thing that now we should make is to start closing or start filling these gaps, the gaps that it has here and the gaps that it has here, and also the gaps maybe inside of the nose cavity. So I'm gonna use the move brush with the back face mask active, symmetry active, of course. Let's push it, push it, push it, push it. You here. Let's smooth it out a little bit like this. Now it's closed. Now we can close this cap as well. Now it's already closed, so we can raise up this. And now a method that I use very often is Dynamis. And I use this the default Dynamis, where you can use you should decide the right resolution, but I prefer to go to an external plugin, which it is called Dynamis Utility. You will find it inside of the resources from the official Pixology website. So there you will be able to find the Dynamis Utility plugin. So, and now I'm gonna decide the amount of polygons that we want to start as a starting point to start sculpting or start detailing the surface. So let's say 500,000, 0.5 is a good starting point. I don't want any blurring, so I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna set the blur to 0. Let's create Dynamis. So the good thing about this plugin is where I decide the quantity of points that I'm looking for, I decide to start from a mesh of 500,000 points. So when I click here instead of here, the plugin is giving to me the exact resolution for the amount of polygons which I am looking for. So maybe 500,000 is too much. Maybe let's get 0.3. Okay, so will be faster to work. So now I can start using this. So I already have this filled. I'm gonna turn this on. I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna make it thicker because it's too thin. We're gonna get problems on casting. We leave this as it is, so thin. Again, move with back face. So let's start to make it thicker. Oh, I forgot to turn off my symmetry. Now, turn on symmetry. Same thing here. Gonna divide 2 times. So let's make it thicker here. Well, let's make it thicker. Solo mode. So let's make it another good method to start blocking your meshes is the Sculptors Pro. I'm gonna turn this on, so I'm gonna be able to. If you are using a Sculptors Pro, it's not able to work with subdivision levels. Let's delete the lowers, and now I can turn this on again, so I can start pushing and repairing. So like this, I'm gonna keep the boolean active because now I can see that we are getting problems here in these areas. I'm gonna turn off my back face. I'm gonna try to pull out a little bit, back face again, to pull in, pull out. So just start working with a nice jaw shape like this. Gonna push it in, this, push it out. Okay, so like this. Let's work with the Dynamis now. I'm gonna turn off my Sculptors Pro now. I can smooth out everything. Now it looks strange without fifth. So let's turn this on. And let's now select the tip. Let's divide. And again with the move brush with the back face. Move brush and back face active, it's a very good way to start adding thickness. So that I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna separate the uppers from the lowers. So I'm gonna control there. As we already have polygroups, we are gonna be able to. Well, I forgot to turn on my symmetry again. So activate symmetry now. Let's make it thicker. Let's make it closer. One to the other. Let's make it thicker. Let's make it thicker. This. Let's make it thicker. Closer. Try to avoid to leave gaps. You can leave the gaps, but depending on you have planned to make molds, maybe it's not a good idea, but depending on what you are looking for. In this case, I'm gonna try to keep the mouth as close as possible. And the shortcut to hide or unhide part of the mesh or different polygroups, you can see here. We already have two different polygroups, one for the upper teeth and another for the lower teeth. So just Control Shift or go into brushes, clicking on the select rectangle. ZBrush will tell you should use Control Shift shortcut. So Control Shift and click on one polygroup will hide automatically the other one. Control Shift and drag will reverse. Well, you will see what was hidden before. This is the shortcut. Control Shift, and now we start getting. And now we are gonna start adding more resolution to the band. You're welcome. More resolution. And let's start sculpting. Let's start sculpting. Before, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to avoid to see the faceting on the surface. I'm gonna use the dynamic subdivision. I'm gonna click group to normals, groups polygroups. Let's work with dynamic subdivision because it's nicer when you are working to see everything smooth. Or this is one of the things that I like, to see everything as smooth as possible when I am working. So let's turn this off. So let's follow tweaking the jaw. Maybe you should push this out a little bit. Push this back. Make something like this. Let's correct this. I'm not gonna correct this. We can start getting a good flow. Well, on cranius and on the bend. Okay, and this is what we get. I'm gonna start watching some references. Let's grab this one, for example. Or seeing what is happening here in this part. Now this is a good point to start getting the decision that you are looking for an angry cool, but I'm looking for a more relaxed or more neutral. So now from this point is just start tweaking and start touching proportions. So because I am looking for a non 100% accurate anatomical school. So let's try to find a good balance between some realistic thing and some more artistical interpretation of an school. So it's good to have one real references, but it's still getting some room for a free style, for artistical touch. So let's see. You can see the profile is not working well. Let's work a little bit on the nose. We should to make it more aggressive and more interesting from all of the views. One thing that you should make is to start checking all the views during the sculpting process, from far away, from closest points to farther points, to see how it looks like. Maybe on the chain we can make it some more level, kind of something like this. Not, let's say something more, something like this, more square. You can see we can push this in. Works better from the front view. So like this. So now, yeah, the school is gonna lay on the finger at this point. So I think it's the distance between. We need to be careful about the distance from this point to this point, to don't make it too thin, because if we make this too thin, we're gonna feel that the ring is cutting or is scratching our finger. So try to make it a little bit thicker and rounder. Don't put here sharp edges. So start mixing curves. Avoid to leave too many straight lines. So now the cranius. Now I can use the move brush with the Alt key, so I can push in this part. Not so much, not that much. Let's say a little bit like this. One brush that I like to use, the SK Clay Feel, is from. This is an external brush. I think that you already know it. They're very well known brushes on the internet. I think many people are using these brushes. They comes from Japanese guys. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna give you the link to download them if you want. This is a pack of brushes that I love it. This is one of the brushes that I use the most. So let's break something like this, and well, the jaw now looks not looking good. Maybe like this. Another brush that I use very often from the same pack, SK Cloth. I like to change the alpha to the alpha 39. I prefer to use this alpha instead of the default alpha. Let's start creating planes here. So now I'm using the Alt key to curve and start creating this. SK Polish, another one, to start creating the different planes. Planes like this. And for example, SK Slash, something similar than the very popular DAM standard brush. It's quite similar, but not the same, but very similar. Let's select the clay build-up without alpha. Let's start getting this gap. It is going to be a closed gap. It's not going to be a hole like on a real school, but let's keep this as a gap like this. So we can start in things like this, maybe grabbing this. Let's grab now the school and start making following the anatomical reference. Maybe I think that I said I have one. Yeah, school from the front view, or even on the front view, where we have, this is a very important part of the expression of a school. We can put more material here. Don't make. Ooh, you have a problem here because this is the distance between one wall and the nearest wall is too small. So when I scroll from one side, I affect the other side, and it's gonna be necessary to turn on back face mask now here. Control drag to repair the dynamism. This is the main reason why I like to use dynamism when I am blocking, when I am creating the main forms on the main shape, so I can destroy, or I can squeeze, or I can stress the polygons, but at any point I can get a completely new mesh to work with. So let's go. Maybe it's too angry now. Let's. Not going to be necessary. Now let's push this. Make the cheekbone here a little bit wider. Yes. Let's push this up. This. And you can see only with the clay build-up, you're gonna start creating. I think here will be better the case like cloth to start creating this separation. And clay build-up. From the piece from the side, maybe we should have more, something like this. One thing that I like with the SK slash is to start making corners or edges. It's very useful. Now I'm using the Alt key, so I'm pushing out the points from the mesh. By default, the brush makes this, like you are carving on the surface, but if you're using the Alt key, you can start creating corners or edges, or I don't know. So I can push this, I can push this, I can push that. So this, and let's make a corner here as well, like this. Let's add more, something like this, like this, and on this side it goes more, something like this. So it start looking like a better school now. So now what I do is I start combining the smooth peaks and the smooth valleys. These two different smooth brushes, which you can find them inside of the Lightbox, inside of the default brush folder. Inside of the smooth folder, you will find them here, smooth valleys and smooth peaks. I never use the default smooth brush. When now this is the default smooth brush, but I like to change with the smooth peaks in this case to relax the corner, and in this case smooth valleys to start relaxing this part. So I find that I don't destroy so many surface detail than the using the default smooth brush. Let's create something like this here. Maybe I need to curve a little bit here. Like this, okay, it's working fine. Maybe with this case lash again. Let's start detailing a little bit the teeth. Move brush. Up and down here. Up and down. Up and down. Like this. Maybe I just need to push this in a little bit. Control drag to repair. The same on the jaw. Let's start defining the separations between each tooth. Like this. And now the same as before. Start. Push it up and push it down. The mesh to start getting more testing part. And on the teeth, maybe we should push out a little bit the teeth. And inside of the jaw here in the bone, maybe we need to create little gaps. Like sockets for each tooth. Like this. I'm gonna push this in, the latest, using the move topology. So with the move topology, I'm gonna be able only to push back one, avoiding to touch the others. So I can start making some fine tuning adjustments, fine adjustment, or yes. Maybe here we need more separation here, something like this. It looks better, I think, with a gap inside of the teeth. Yeah, like this. So, and let's do this. So now, baby, now it's a good point to start adding more resolution to the mesh. Because when we start creating small gaps on small corners, on small things in general, it's the moment to start getting more resolution on the mesh. So when you are just creating general forms and general shapes with a low amount of polygons, you can see we are working with less than 300,000 polygons. So it's good. But when we start making small things or small details, small forms in this case, it's a good moment to start adding more resolution. So I'm gonna like this little gap here. So instead of this, let's go out to 0.3, 0.5. Now we have more polygons now. The same on the jaw. 0.5. Dynamics. Okay, like this. Maybe now I'm gonna save it. Before save it, I'm gonna let this using the escape polish to start getting flat planes like this, and like here, for example. In combination of here you have a plane, now it's smooth peaks, of course, and now you start getting more interesting forms. So let's grab here, grab here. Start touching and maybe if I do more something like I'm just hitting the surface with short strokes to get some texture on the surface. As I said at the beginning on the streaming, I'm looking for a non-perfect surface. So we want to try to replicate the hand carving finishing. So here I'm gonna try to move this part from the inside the same. And let's try to sculpt a little bit. Don't leave it so on detail, for example, like this. And let's go here. Depending on the reference that you are watching, you can get different information. So well, much better to start changing from between different references. Maybe now it's too sad. It's a sad school. Álvaro, no sé cuándo lo voy a hacer en español. Pues no lo sé. Quizás el siguiente streaming, quizás lo haga en español, haga uno en español. And also I like to practice my English. I know that I just try to explain myself. No, I know that it is not a perfect English, but enough for the transmit or to tell you what I'm doing, because in this case, all of you know what I am doing. I think maybe the language is the less important thing, because if you are familiar with what I'm doing, I mean the interface, the tools. If you don't understand something, just ask, and I will try to explain you. But again, my English is like a Spanglish more than real English, so I think it's quite easy to understand, or I think so. I don't know. Gracias, Claudio. Thanks, Claudio. Yeah, maybe it's a quite simple workflow. It's not very advanced workflow in this case. Let's select the TIFF now. I'm gonna select this case, and the TIFF for the TIFFs, I prefer to keep them separate. So I'm not going to use dynamis. I'm gonna play with subdivision. So let's subdivide one more time. So I'm gonna make this with the SK slash to start making this kind of corner. And one thing that I like to use on the skull rings is this. This is a very silly trick, maybe, but I like H polish with the Alt key, and this is what it does. If you use it by default without any hotkey, you can start like you are blasting, or I don't know how to say it. It's you are sanding, you are grinding the surface, and you are getting a flat surface. But if you are using the Alt key, you're gonna get voila, tooth shape. This is the call, the name of the brush. This you can. This is one thing that I like to use with this. The same thing here. H polish. This is one brush that comes by default with ZBrush. This is not an external. I like to do this with the tip. Instead of get it rounded, so we go from here. So we are getting something like this shape of the tip. This is not very realistic. And we're going from here to something more like this. So we are extruding this part of the mesh to get something more like this from the front view. This is just for with the H polish plus Alt key. Arturo Martin is saying he is saying that he wants an English and a Spanish streaming for all of the followers. Yeah, both languages are very important. Many people are speaking language and English. Because I have been making many different courses in Spanish for a long time. So for the Spanish audience, and this is the till now I decide to start growing as an English broadcaster or a streamer or YouTuber or whatever you can call it. So at the same time, when I am trying to put in practice my English, as I said before, maybe I can reach different public or more people maybe. But anyway, I'm not saying that I forgot to. I don't want to make more streamings or more courses in Spanish. Of course, maybe I'm gonna in the future I'm gonna create an Spanish for. Anyway, if you are looking for uh, any is in teaching in Spanish, you can go to a platform inside of Patreon, so which it is called Familia Joyera. So this is a platform for Jurly, but I'm gonna start broadcasting here lives in Spanish. But here I'm gonna use ZBrush Core. So this is going to be a basic level to start working on digital sculpting applied to Jurly design. So this is quite cheap. So you can get into the community, and then you're gonna be able to see my streams in Spanish. But anyway, I will create my own streamings in Spanish in the future, I think, for sure. So let's follow with the tooth or with the teeth. You are welcome. De nada, Arturo. Gracias por comentar. So maybe we can stay here. Maybe with the SKS last, we can start applying more bigger gaps between each one. I can see here there is a small window. Here you can see it. I'm gonna zoom in. You can see there is a small window between. Maybe in this case, will be better to fix it from the inside. Inflate, where it is. Here, inflate, 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 and inflate. So everything is closed now, I think. Everything is closed. So let's follow with this K so I can start. Let's add more polygons. So Let's add some imperfections. Don't make it so shiny or so smooth on the surface. Now, like this. Maybe this one needs to be a little bit more pointy. Like this, and let's follow with the clay pin that clay pin, with more imperfections. So don't be here all day, all the streaming. Just need to close this. Sculpting and sculpting the same detail over and over again. I'm gonna try to make them as fast as possible to try to explain you, to try to show you different processes. Okay, let's close. So now I'm gonna try to add a little bit of detail from the inside. On the real product, I think in the real piece is not, you are not gonna be able to see the details. Maybe, I think, of the teeth, but just to watch that there something is happening inside. So don't leave the surface like a flat surface or a smooth surface. Try to make some like this, try to break or add some variation on the surface. So let's something like this, for example, something like this. Yeah, it's enough. So now I'm gonna save it. So now I'm gonna decide. So I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna start making booleans between each part because we are gonna start changing things. The first step to take, I think, will be to start merging or welding the main cranius with the bend of the ring, to start working on this separation, to start filling this transition between. So I like to keep all the original parts as the masterpieces. So I'm gonna create a duplicate. I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna duplicate this as well. I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna select this and merge down. Always okay. I'm gonna hide this and this. I'm gonna put this on the bottom here. And now I'm gonna come back to the plugin, and now I'm gonna start adding more finer detail. So let's start with 1 million. Dynamize it. So now, very useful now, the smooth valleys. So start, well, making the transition between both parts. SK Clay Fill, another brush from the SK pack. Luca is saying, thank you for your streaming in English. Yeah, you are welcome. Yeah, not a native English speaker. It's fun. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I'm happy you are able to understand me. That's it. That means that my English is not bad as I'm thinking, so I'm good enough to try to explain myself in English. Yeah, I'm gonna try to cover all the audiences. So English, of course, we'll make some streamings in Spanish. So I don't forget the Spanish community, of course. So SK Clay Fill, as the name is saying, you are gonna be able to fill gaps or make things like this. Let's move this up a little bit. this. And now I'm gonna fill this gap a little bit. Try to get a good transition between the band and the ring, the band and the scoop, I'm sorry. Like this. Yeah, it's looking good from the front view. Maybe it's too narrow. Maybe I should push this out a little bit. Maybe this is still too shy, I think. Maybe more aggressive looking. And like this is working from all of views. Yes, are working well. So let's go with the edge polish, but now let's start. I like to use SK polish and SK at the default edge polish because it's like you are working with a sandpaper. When you start sanding the surface, you start getting smooth surfaces. Depending on how strong you are applying the strokes, you can get planes and corners or imperfections on the surface. Are two brushes that I use them very often. So in this case, I'm gonna start sanding this part. This part I start sanding out. I start removing material, Start sanding. So something like this. I'm gonna start sanding this part. Something like this. Something like this. Sanding. We can call this as a strong sanding tool, where you are getting well-defined flat planes mostly. And now I change to the default polish. This is not the edge polish. This is the default polish. Very important to use this brush in combination with the Alt key, so you will get a soft sanding tool. It's very useful to start sanding corners. Start getting a smooth transition. Of course, if you are sanding like if you are sanding a piece of wood, you should be making the strokes like this, long strokes from one point to the another point, and short strokes in this direction. One strokes, to start getting a general sanding and more refined sanding on the corner. So like working with a sanding paper, like with the Alt key, small, smooth, and small touches. And as you start polishing, you start sanding the surface, polishing the surface, start getting something like this. Maybe I'm gonna push this in, push this out. Maybe I'm gonna try to creating something like this. Blatterra is saying, agree with you about different ways of making same stuff in C. Yeah, of course. This is one of the things that I love of ZBrush. This is the freedom of creation. Maybe it is not restricted by the specific workflows or a specific button. So it's very. Oh, you're welcome. So I try to do my best with my English. Maybe I'm gonna try to be improving at the same time when I am making new streams. So let's say go ahead and start. This could be endless. So when you are sculpting, so You start observing what you are doing, and you decide to change this, then to change that. So at some point, you need to stop and say, take the decision to say, I stay here, so I move forward to another process or to another thing. But I'm starting getting at this point when I am watching it. I'm not sure, but because if I want to start making more detail, or let's stay here, maybe I'm gonna make it thicker at this point, something like this. This is a very good usage of smooth valleys. You can see here you have an strokes. You can clearly see the strokes that starts here till here, and I'm looking for a softer transition, maybe from here to here, because now looks like a scratched line, so they are too much defined on the surface. And then this is very cool to use the smooth valleys to start smoothing only the end of each stroke, so you will be blending the strokes with the surfaces like this. I'm gonna create one here. For example, if you are making one stroke from the beginning till the end, like this. No, let's say more. Let's like this. Of course, it's not looking good, but with the smooth valleys, you can start smoothing this part. Now you can smooth peaks a little bit at the end. So now you have the stroke completely integrated on the surface. Let's start polishing. Start getting some planes here on the job. I'm gonna use now the escape cloth to start getting something like this. Same thing here. Making a stroke, smooth valleys, smooth peaks, and just start getting more forms. It's not looking good, I think. I don't know, maybe if I write something more like this. Hola Eduardo, gracias por venir. So maybe I'm gonna start using masking. I'm gonna use the mask lasso. I don't like to use the lazy mouse with the mask. It was updated on the latest version, like this. Let's push up a little bit. We'll drag smooth valleys to smooth the depression. I'm watching a problem that I am having here. I'm having a problem here. We have a hole here. So what could I do is I have walls. This is very thin. At some point we have a hole in the middle. This area is something like this. We have the hole here in the middle. We need to push out this to start getting more something like this. One brush that I like to use the form shot with the back face to do these things. The ability of the form shop is that you are extruding the surface perpendicular to the normals. This is very useful when you you are looking for to push out the surface. So now control drag. We can fill in this gap. I'm filling this gap a little bit. And let's say if it's still too thin. Now we start getting the right thickness there. Let's maybe one move brush with the back face to apply more thickness here. I'm gonna apply more polygons. And maybe it's almost ready. It's almost ready for start taking the next step. I like this kind of finishing. The school brushes normally have this one not, maybe they have something like this. Go. Or like that. So I can grab my H polish. Hola Raúl, bienvenido. Nunca es tarde. Si llegas, nunca es tarde. Gracias por venir. So now I kind of start watching that the band is too thin. If I take the measurement, here we are about 1.5 millimeter. This is very thin, so we should push out a little bit. Just without the back face, we are not going to use the back face now. So we can go something more like this. Let's see how much it is now. Yeah, 2 millimeter. Yeah. Sounds good. And maybe we can make it thicker in the middle, like this, to apply more material in the middle of the band. This is one thing that the reason why this is, if I turn on my y-axis, remember as I put the band in the middle of the workspace, so I'm gonna be able to create a symmetrical stroke exactly in the middle. Grab the sanding tool, start sanding like this. Out this part. Try to get a regular profile. Yep. Like this. At the bottom, something similar. Remember that in this sample, we are working with sculpting techniques, so we are not too worried about perfection. So straight lines, completely 100% flat surfaces, 90 degrees angles, and things like this. So we are just making a 100% organic modeling. Luca is asking when it is going to be cast in gold, for example, or other precious metal, expensive metal, I suppose. Do you tend to sculpt thinner walls or just hollow the insides? Yes. Yeah, the question is, I make it hollow at the end of the process. So I keep in mind that I'm gonna cast it in gold. So during the process, I worried about the thicknesses. So don't make things too thick or too bold or too big. But at the end of the process, the most useful or the best way to optimize the weight is on the hollowing process. Now I am watching here. One thing that I don't like it is this. You can see here we have a quite sharp edge here. The edges are too sharp. What we can do is with the clip curve brush, we're gonna start clipping this. And now it's better. The same here. I'm gonna clip this. Maybe at this point is too thin. Okay, like this. Looks. Ooh, I made something wrong here. Oh yeah, I I had the y-axis active. Let's undo it, undo it, undo it. Here. Let's recalculate the dynamis, and I'll turn this off now. Now we can push out this part, and this part. So make it like this. Let's save it. What I do, for example, when you are looking for, I'm going to show you on the hollowing process on the next stream. I'm going to talk about the hollowing process. So I'm going to make two examples. So let's make it hollow for a silver ring. Let's make a second option for a gold ring, where we are looking for a more general hollowing. So not only the front part of the ring. So we can make even the mat, even the band hollow inside if it's necessary. I'm gonna explain you which is the process that I use when I try to hollow the rings as much as possible. Doesn't matter if it's a school ring or maybe on another rings, organic rings, right? So animal heads and things like this. So we need to follow another process. The concept is the same, but with different extra steps to make it as more light as possible if we have in mind to cast it in gold. Okay, let's leave it here. Just try to explain more things. Because on the next stream, I'm gonna prepare for 3D printing. I'm gonna make it hollow first. We will check the weight, how it is, if it is too much or it's good. to working on the hollowing process with Mesh Mixer and with ZBrush, and taking the weight with the Kitco Methyl Quotes plugin, where, for example, if we want to know how heavy is this, we can know it now. So we click it here. You can see here in sterling silver, even in silver, it's only the cranius and the band is almost 60 grams of silver. As if we talk about gold, we are reaching 90 grams. Look at the price, so it's crazy. But even on the sterling, this silver, it is too heavy. For example, this ring is around 30 grams. Because this is a very big, bold, heavy ring because it's almost solid inside. But if we know now that only one part of the ring is more than 50 grams of silver, so it should be hollowed inside, of course. So we're gonna make this on the next stream. At this moment, we are only worried about the shape, how nice it is. So if the customer is happy with the design or not, we should be making changes or adjustments on the shape of the ring. But we are gonna be worried about the weight on the next part of the process. Another brush that I like to use. Let me check the dynamics. Bad decision. Bad decision. $5 million points. It's not. Let's make it 1.5 million points. Yeah, it's good enough for detailing. Another brush that I like to use is the we already made it on the previous stream where I was following the relief of the lion. I'm gonna use more or less the same concept, but when we are talking about rings, maybe it's a little different, but the idea, the concept is, I think, is almost the same. Okay, the clay brush to start adding an extra detail here. The thing that I liked about the clay brush is the stepping, so to get well defined steps like this. It's good on the teeth pocket. Let's reduce the intensity like this. And we have, in terms of anatomy, here we have two little gaps here on the sides, and one gap here. They brush. Well, big. Okay, maybe we are ready for more things to learn. Okay, I'm gonna show you. Let's say first, I'm gonna show you the one method or one process. Here we don't have any example. Maybe this one looks like we are getting some kind of this noisy surface or imperfection on the surface. But I have seen some designs there that they looks very cool because looks like they were made with clay. They were made in wax, of course, but looks like they were made in clay or wet clay or something. You have uh, some brushes. You can find many brushes made by many ZBrush users, which replicates the effect of the wet clay sculpting. When you can see different imperfection on the surface, like looks like real clay, and they are very cool. But I'm gonna show you how to make something similar with one brush that you already have inside of ZBrush by default, and one of the default features that ZBrush has inside. So I'm gonna, before doing this, I'm gonna try to avoid to make this eye sockets too deep inside. Let's fill in the gaps, because we don't make we make the eye sockets too deep, maybe we can get problems with the hollowing, because we can get problems because the end of the socket, for example, if we are making the socket like this, and this is going to be the end, the external wall. So the distance between the end of the cavity and the wall, the external wall, is too thin. So it's not going to be possible to hollow this part. So it will be better to make hollow something more like this and try to push out a little bit the eye socket. Don't make it, when you are making a skull rings, this is my tip, don't make the eye sockets too deep inside. So I think maybe some of you already know the thick skin feature. This feature, I'm gonna only say this. Only like this is still cool, I think. Let's see how it looks like. Half jaw. They are highly demand designs with only with half jaw design. Or I'm gonna remove this part first. I'm working with the back face active. Yeah, something like this. Now it looks better. This is one of the things that I love with the new live Boolean system, which was introduced maybe 2 years ago. Time flies. Yeah. Yeah, it looks much better like this. Good enough. So, thick skin. The thick skin, for the ones who don't know it, is we are able to create a virtual skin, something like this. Our current surface is this one, And with the thick skin, we're gonna create a virtual skin like this, or like this, or like this, depending on this value that we can set. So we are gonna create a space between the existing surface and the thickness of the thick skin. So we are gonna create the thick skin, for example, here. So the room that we are gonna have to sculpt is the difference between the real surface and the thick skin. So we are gonna create, we are gonna be able to create details from this point to this point. We are not gonna be allowed to sculpt further from the thick skin surface. I don't know if it is well explained or not. Let's see in action, the reality. So let's turn this on. Can I put this here? And look, you can see what is happening if I start applying the skin. It's like I can start blowing inside of the mesh. So I'm gonna apply a value like this. Now if I, for example, grab the clay build-up, let's put the square, and you can see now it's like we are not going further than, and this is very cool, for example, to create this kind of effects. One brush that I like to use with this thick skin is the rake brush, BR again. No, it's not the rake. No, yeah, of course, this is already selected. With the rake brush, I can start making strokes, loose strokes like this. You can see how cool this the texture that you can create in a few strokes. To start combining negative strokes with positive strokes. You start how do you say, is doodling, or making different strokes in different directions to start getting some kind of this kind of texturing. This is one, and now I can add an extra thickness, a little bit more, and I can add another layering, another level of layering to start creating things like this. Alt plus, and you can see how cool it looks like, and I love it because it's very random. So you can start making strokes and stroke and stroke, different directions, different values. See add, see sub. You can start playing with different thick skin values to start applying more levels, for example, on some areas. Not like this, maybe longer strokes in this case. Longer stroke, yeah, something like this, for example. Yeah, that's very too exaggerated. Maybe it's too strong. Maybe I can add. Let's see if I can escape. I can start polishing the surface or extruding the surface. No, the edge polish doesn't look good. Maybe let's say another brush. Maybe the clay tubes. Let's say the clay tubes. Yeah, it looks nice, this one. But I like how it works better the rake or this brush. I love this brush. Where are you? Here, the rake brush. Adding, putting, adding. Also, if we play with the focal shift, you can start. But the good thing about this is that you can notice you're gonna start applying texture on the surface, but without destroying the sculpting that you did before. So, because as we are only sculpting in a small amount of space, we are not breaking or destroying the model. So to start creating strokes like this, it looks very cool. Eduardo is saying that esa textura queda en la impresión y la goma. Eduardo is saying that this texture remains on the after the casting and the molding. Of course, you can do one thing. You should take an extra step. So, of course, we are watching how the texture looks like on the screen, but we need to be sure that we're gonna have success on the casting and on the molding, on the rubber molding. Of course, the first decision to take, for example, if you are working now with the intensity of 100, maybe we should apply more strength on the surface. And another thing that at the end of the process, because now we are creating a virtual model, but exists a new deformation control that it was introduced, I think, 2 versions before, maybe 1 year ago or less. It is called contrast, where you can add more contrast to the surface. You can see how it looks like now. Of course, on the screen, it doesn't look good because this looks maybe too. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. It's too the surface doesn't look good. So, but this is the rendering model. This is the virtual model, and once we like the texture, a previous step to take before prepare the model for 3D printing is to add more contrast on the surface to keep a more exaggerated texture and has more success on the casting, of course, on the printing, casting, and molding. So you need to work with the contrast in this case. And this is a very cool feature for Jourly, because when you are working with textures, you know that the texture that you are doing, you can add more contrast to it, and you can reinforce, you can remark it much more than you were sculpting before. And this is completely automatical. You can do this. Now control drag to reveal the mesh, and this could be the right file for 3D printing. And if you are looking for just to add more contrast on some parts of the model, of course you can start creating with a mask. For example, you can work with a mask. I'm gonna create a mask here because I am looking for to get a very exaggerated texture on the band. So let's mask the band, invert the mask, and now only apply the contrast on the band. Of course, you can apply positive values or negative values. If you go to the negative, you will go in the opposite way. It's like you are polishing, but it still is looking good, I think. Maybe we can say that, for example, this is how it looks like on printing and on the raw casting, and we can simulate something like this, how it's going to look like the final product, applying positive or negative values to the contrast slider. I love this slider. This is quite useful when you are working with texture. You should apply an extra contrast before set up the file for 3D printing. And it's a matter of trial and error. So if you create, for example, this design, you print it, cast it, and make one testing mold, if you see that it doesn't work, on next time, you will learn that you should apply more contrast or more strength on your stroke. It's a matter of learning with trial and error tests. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Okay, this texture looks very cool, right? So I'm gonna make a duplicate. I'm gonna keep this because I like it. Because I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna leave this as I don't know, texture. This is going to be the texture one. I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna grab the history. Let's go back till get this smooth model like this. I'm gonna make a new duplicate. I'm gonna call this. This is gonna be the texture number 2. Texture number 2. And I'm gonna use one brush that I love it. As I said before, it comes by default with ZBrush, but it's a bit hidden. You should go here to the brush folder. Now go to the, let me think what it was. I forgot it. This is, I think it was on clay, on the clay folder. Clay. Where are you? Clay folder, clay, here. Yeah, here it is. Here we have 2 brushes that they are amazing for great textures. They are these 2. I don't know how to pronounce it. Fracture B and Fracture C. 2 different brushes. Only we have this one, break line. I don't know. I don't use this one, but I love to use the Fracture B and the Fracture C. How to lose weight. Yeah, and we will see how to lose weight on the next streaming. We are gonna grab the final sculpting model and we are gonna start hollowing it out to start making lighter. We're gonna make 2 versions, one for gold and another one for silver. And we're gonna try to make it hollow as much as possible, depending on if we are looking for a casting for a gold model or for a silver model. So this is going to be one of the last things that we are going to learn for today. So I'm gonna let's use these brushes. Let's start, for example, with Fracture B. Let's see. Let's go to the. I'm gonna show you first what it does without the thick skin. I'm gonna turn this out. This is what it. You can see how it looked like. This is the Fracture B. Let's say that what the Fracture C does. This is almost the same, quite similar, but in combination with the thick skin. Let's apply one. This is something like this. This is very interesting. Let's to play with. And see what it does. You can see what it does in the corner, in the borders. I love how it looks like in the borders. The corners. Looks like it was made in a kind of, this is great for, and of course with when you are working with a texture like this, you will get better results. You are working with a good printer, so you will avoid the building, the construction lines, because as the surface is so irregular, so will be more difficult to see the construction or the building lines from the. So we will get something like this. Let's apply some negative, some positive. And of course it's quite useful to apply more texture on the cavities because they are more difficult to reach when you are polishing, when you are trying to finish the model. So apply more texture on the cavities will be better. So on the back part, let's try to add here more texture than normal because it's gonna be difficult to reach with the polishing wheel. So and now you can see how it looks like with clay looking finishing. Control drag. You can see now if you are doing control drag, you are gonna lose a bit of detail. Maybe if we are, let's apply the sub projection to the maximum. Yeah, we are still losing a little bit of detail. We are working with 1.4 millions. Let's say if we go for 2.5, 1 million more, we're gonna lose a little bit less of detail. And now we can apply more contrast for the printing model, and you can see, but maybe if you start working with the contrast, you're not going to have more problems with textures on molding and polishing. I think so. Of course, this one doesn't look good for the rendering model. Maybe like this will looks better. If we am gonna make a duplicate of this one, yes, I'm gonna apply the texture on the jaw as well. Thick skin, whoop, not that much. Yeah, like this. A little bit more. I love these brushes because I don't know why. No, not many people know them. But the feeling that you can get just making loose strokes on the surface. Let's make it brush size a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Sorry. Right here and there, we are getting. And for the teeth, let's duplicate. Let's keep the original safe. This is one method that I like to follow. So because you are always expecting for client changes, or tomorrow what you are doing today you will see it tomorrow. You are not agree what you were doing yesterday, so you decide to change anything. So if you keep all of the original parts safe, so you at any point you can come back and start again from the beginning, it's good. So it's a good habit to try to make copies. Oh, let's use the thick skin first. Let's start breaking the surface a little bit more skin. Loose strokes, very easy to create because completely random. And there you go. Let's save. Okay, you have any questions? Is the moment to, because I'm gonna stop here. On the next stream, I'm gonna grab this model. I'm gonna check how heavy it is, and we will start the hollowing process. And prepare the file for 3D printing, and when everything will be ready, we will go to Keyshot to start making some cool renders like this one, like this. But the one that you already saw on my social media. But I think this is a Keyshot. This is a Keyshot. Like this one. We're gonna start creating renders like this one. Thing on the next stream. Ok, so gracias a vosotros por haber estado en el directo. Thanks to everyone to be here watching me explaining things about yearly design inside of ZBrush. I will try to cover different processes and different workflows, and I hope to at least to show different stuff than the current stuff that you can find on the internet that is more related to character monsters and another application of ZBrush. So again, if you have any questions after, or you watch the stream tomorrow or when it's over, you can leave your comments on the video comments, and of course please subscribe to the channel, so I will keep you updated for future streamings if you like this one. And thank you so much for being here again. Thanks to Obrigado, Memo. I'm sorry, but I don't know to speak Portuguese. But I understand what you are writing, so you can write in Portuguese if you want, no problem. And yeah, I will try to share my knowledge. Obrigado. Today we have been more people than on previous streamings. I'm really happy with it. I reach more public of today. So leave your comments, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna leave you now the links for my Facebook page, for my Arstation, for my Instagram, so you can follow my work there. You can ask me whatever you want. I will try to answer all your questions, all your doubts that you have of this stream, or all of the stuff that you about jewelry design with ZBrush. So you will know how to reach me and ask whatever you want. Whoa, thanks from Canada. Okay, so thanks a lot, Stephen, for being here. Yeah. Yeah, as I said before, I'm very happy with today's streaming because many people has come. I will try to improve my English as well, but I don't know if it is going to be possible, but I will try. I will try. I will try. I will try. I'm checking my social media. And yeah, maybe from Brazil. Yeah, many people from all around the world. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's the main reason why I decided to start making streams in English, or at least to try it. Moldavia. It's not so far away than me, like Brazil and Canada, but it's still far away. Muchas gracias a ti, Josep. Me alegro que te haya gustado. Mi inglés es excelente. Fexter says that my English is excellent, but I'm not sure about that. So I'm not sure. Maybe I think it's good enough for talking. Talking. I know that I'm not using the right verb sometimes on the right verb time and things like this, but I think it's good enough for because if you are at the same time that you are speaking, you are making things. So you are connecting what you are watching and what you are listening. It's not so important to know exactly what 100% what I am saying in English. The same thing that I am doing with I am watching tutorials or videos in English. So I don't care about the 100% of the words, but I know, but I understanding what they are saying. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you my links, and we'll see you. I will try to make the next stream on next week. I'm not sure because I take the decision depending of the work that I have or the personal stuff that I need to make during the week. But I will try at least to no longer than 2 weeks. But I'm gonna try again one per week. But I'm gonna try to follow this rhythm. 1 week, one stream for weeks. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday, more or less. But I can say it 100% sure that the next stream will be in the next week. But I will try. But anyway, I will post on my social media. So you will be updated about my next streaming. So, but anyway, if you subscribe to the channel, you will be 100% updated. So thanks to all. Gracias por estar aquí. And we'll see you on the next stream. Os veré en el próximo streaming. Gracias.